The colony ship Endeavour had been humanity's last hope, a vessel carrying 10,000 souls through the void, searching for a new home after Earth's collapse. But fate had other plans. A catastrophic malfunction forced an emergency landing on Zareth 7, a planet teeming with life but also home to the Vraxian Empire, a species that viewed humans as primitive vermin. Leo knelt beside the crystalline stream, filling canteens with trembling hands. The forest around him hummed with alien life, bioluminescent vines casting purple shadows, creatures chirping in frequencies that made his teeth ache. He was 23, trained as a botanist, not a soldier. But survival demanded everyone become something more. Leo, hurry up. Freya's voice cut through the alien symphony. She stood 20 meters away, pulse rifle raised, her dark eyes scanning the crimson canopy above. At 19, she'd lost her entire family in the crash. Now she fought with the fury of someone with nothing left to lose. Almost done, Leo called back, securing the last canteen to his belt. The settlement needed water, and they'd volunteered for the dangerous trek to the river. That's when the first arrow struck. It came silently, a shaft of blackened metal that punched through Leo's chest with surgical precision. He gasped, stumbling backward as pain exploded through his torso. The second arrow followed, then a third. His knees buckled. Leo! Freya's scream echoed as she sprinted toward him, firing blindly into the trees. The Vraxians emerged like shadows, tall, bipedal creatures with scaled skin and forearms, each carrying primitive but deadly weapons. They'd been hunting humans for sport since the landing, picking off stragglers, testing the colony's defenses. Leo collapsed onto the moss, blood pooling beneath him. Through dimming vision, he saw Freya reach him, her hands immediately pressing against his wounds. Tears streaked her face. No, she whispered frantically. Stay with me. But Leo felt the darkness closing in. His breath came in shallow gasps. The arrows had pierced clean through, one near his heart, another through his lung, the third in his abdomen. No human could survive this. Not without immediate medical attention they didn't have. Freya looked up as the Vraxians circled them, clicking their mandibles in what might have been laughter. 7 of them, weapons raised, savoring their kill. Something primal awakened in Freya's chest. Not fear. Not grief. Rage. She grabbed the arrow protruding from Leo's chest, the one nearest his heart, and with a snarl she tore it free. Leo's body convulsed, blood flowing faster now, but he was already gone, already beyond pain. Freya stood, the bloodied arrow gripped in her hand like a spear. Her voice, when it came, was barely human. Let's return it first. The nearest Vraxian barely had time to register her movement. Freya launched herself forward with speed born of desperation and fury, driving the arrow upward beneath its mandible. The creature's clicking turned to a gurgle as she twisted the shaft, using its own weight to drive it deeper. The others attacked as one, but Freya was already moving. She ripped her knife from its sheath, rolling beneath a spear thrust coming up inside their formation. In close quarters, their forearmed advantage meant nothing. She was smaller, faster, and utterly willing to die if it meant taking them with her. Her knife found an eye socket. Her elbow shattered a mandible. She grabbed a fallen spear and used it to deflect an arrow, then drove it through a Vraxian's thorax. They hadn't expected resistance, hadn't expected prey to become predator. Blood covered her, alien and human mixed, as she fought with technique abandoned in favor of savage efficiency. When a Vraxian grabbed her from behind with all 4 arms, she bit into its wrist until bone crunched, simultaneously driving her knife backward into its abdomen. The forest fell silent except for Freya's ragged breathing. 7 Vraxians lay dead or dying around her. She stood in the center of the carnage, chest heaving, covered in wounds she couldn't yet feel through the adrenaline. Then she turned back to Leo. He lay motionless, pale as death, blood still seeping from his wounds. Freya dropped to her knees beside him, pressing her ear to his chest. For a moment, nothing. Then impossibly a flutter, faint, irregular. But there, you stubborn bastard, she sobbed, laughing and crying simultaneously. She couldn't understand how he still lived. Humans weren't supposed to survive such trauma. But Leo's physiology, shaped by generations of genetic adaptation to survive Earth's dying environment, was proving more resilient than anyone knew. His heart beat on, even with an arrow having passed centimeters from it. Freya activated her emergency beacon, then began the brutal work of field medicine. She packed Leo's wounds with the medical supplies from their kit, working with blood-slicked hands, refusing to let him slip away. 20 minutes later, the rescue team arrived in their atmospheric shuttle, weapons ready for combat. They found Pharea sitting beside Leo, keeping pressure on his wounds, surrounded by 7 dead Vraxians. Commander Chen, a 40-year-old veteran, surveyed the scene with wide eyes. "What happened here?" Pharea looked up, her face a mask of dried blood and determination. "They put arrows in him. I returned one. Seemed only fair." Leo was rushed to the colony's medical bay where Dr. Patel worked for 18 hours straight to save his life. Against all odds, every projection, every medical certainty, Leo survived. When he finally woke 3 days later, Pharea was asleep in the chair beside his bed, her hand wrapped around his. The Vraxians never hunted near the river again. Word spread through their empire of the human female, who'd killed 7 warriors with nothing but rage and a returned arrow. They began to understand what their intel had missed. Humans weren't just survivors. They were survivors who fought back. Leo recovered slowly, though his scars would mark him forever. But when he could finally stand, when he could finally speak without pain, the first thing he did was find Pharea. "You saved my life," he said simply. She smiled, a tired, haunted expression that held both trauma and triumph. "You would have done the same." "Maybe," Leo admitted. "But I don't think I could have taken 7 of them." "You're a botanist," Pharea shrugged. "I'm just angry." They stood together, looking out at the alien sunset, painting Zareth 7's sky in shades of purple and gold. Somewhere in the forest, the Vraxians watched the human colony with newfound wariness. They'd learned a critical lesson about these strange, fragile creatures. Humanity didn't just refuse to die. Humanity refused to die politely. And sometimes, when you put arrows in them, they returned the favor, with interest.